Okay, so let's talk budgets. But more specifically, let's talk about 5 different types of budgets that have proven to be effective so much that even millionaires use them. Or before they got millionaires. I don't know if they still do. But if we haven't met already, my name is Anfernee McLemore. On this channel, I like to talk about investing, side hustles, personal finance, and overall how to make and save you money. So if you think you'll find value in this video and in this channel, go ahead and subscribe. But if you don't, it don't matter because I'm going to teach you how to budget like a millionaire anyways. But jumping straight into the video, the very first budgeting method and probably the most controversial is going to be the envelope method. Now, the reason why I say the envelope budgeting method is a little bit controversial is because it relies 100% on cash. You see, with the envelope budgeting method, what you're basically doing is that you're going to be withdrawing your monthly budgets in cash from a bank and separating them in envelopes, as the name suggests, into different categories like groceries, gas, miscellaneous spending, saving, whatever category that you personally see fit. You're going to be separating them using the envelope method. Now, I have personally tried the envelope method in the past because I know Dave Ramsey teaches this a lot, but you will be surprised how hard cash is to come by these days. I mean, you can go to an ATM and you may be able to get $500 to $600 a day out of the ATM. And usually if you're budgeting a couple $1,000s a month, you'll have to make multiple trips to the bank within a week. And overall, unless you are really disciplined and unless you really want to do the cash budgeting method, I personally think that it takes a lot more effort to even get it set up than it is to maintain it. But with this, although it does take a lot of work to set up, I think that one of the best benefits of doing the envelope method is that it introduces a new level of emotion that comes with you spending your money. When you actually have to physically give away a tangible piece of paper rather than swiping the card, you feel that in your heart a little bit more. You start to emotionally get attached to the amount of money that you have in your envelope, and that moment of hesitation can be all that you need in order to save more money on a monthly basis or even an annual basis. And that is the sole reason why Dave Ramsey teaches this budgeting approach. It's all about becoming so attached to your money that it becomes more difficult for you to spend it. And as I said, by seeing it actually physically leave your envelope, psychological studies suggest that you will be less likely to spend it. However, the next budgeting method that millionaires use and that I personally use myself is going to be called the zero-based budgeting. Now, with zero-based budgeting, what you are basically going to be doing is that you're going to be listing all of the income that you have from various sources, and then you're going to be allocating that income to every single category that you possibly can until you are left with a net income of $0. Now, this does not necessarily mean that you're going to be spending every dollar that you earn, but instead you're going to be allocating it. So what I do is that I go in and I list all the expenses that I usually have from a month-to-month basis, and then whatever is left in surplus, I then start to allocate out. I start to allocate out towards investments, towards savings, towards discretionary spending like vacations or anything like that. And at the end of the day, I like to see that every single dollar, every single cent has a job and has a purpose in my budget. I do have a category of discretionary spending in my budget called miscellaneous because little things always come up within the month. You can have a little bit of over budget on groceries. You can have a small impulse purchase or some fees that you need to pay. So I do like to keep a small margin of error, but for the most part, I like to see every single dollar allocated towards some cause. But I will admit that this does require a high level of discipline and accountability because throughout the month, as you update your budget, you will need to make sure that you are spending only what you have allocated towards that specific item. And if you're not willing or able to do that, then a zero-based budgeting may not be the best fit for you. And also, this budget may not be effective for those who have very highly fluctuating income. And if you do fall in that category, you may be better fit towards a percentage-based budget, which divides your income by percentage levels, and then you allocate money towards those specific budgets based on that percent. Percentage-based budgeting is where the popular 50-30-20 rule comes from, where it is recommended that 50% of less of your monthly income should be going towards household expenses, and 30% should be going towards discretionary spending, and then 20% should be going towards savings. So household expenses are things like your rent payment, your utility bill payment, anything that you need in order to keep your household running on a month-to-month basis. Your discretionary spending are going to be things like your auto insurance, your auto loan car payment, your Netflix subscriptions, all of the shopping sprees that you plan to go on, while the 20% of the 50-30-20 rule is going to be towards savings. And that could be saving in an investment account, in an emergency fund, or in your 401k. Overall, is going to be putting money back towards a future cause that you're not planning on spending right away. I like the percentage-based approach, although I personally don't find it as effective as a zero-based budgeting method. But for someone who wants to be more generic and less granular about how they budget their money, I think that the percentage-based method does provide a little bit of simplicity, and it also provides a good rule of thumb of where your money should be allocated. And if you start to see over time that your money has fallen out of those allocations, then you're able to reevaluate your spending in order to get yourself back on budget. But moving on to the next budget that millionaires use, and this is one that I learned from Robert Kiyosaki in the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and this budget is going to be the budget of paying yourself first. Now, with paying yourself first, you're going to be starting with what you want to achieve in mind first. So let's say your goal is to save $10,000 by the end of the year. If you use the pay yourself budget, you would then divide that $10,000 by 10 10 months or 12 months or how many months you had left in a year. And for simplicity's sake, let's say it's 10 months left in a year, and you would then say to yourself, I am going to save $1,000 a month no matter what for the rest of the year so that I can meet my goal. And I am going to transfer this money at the first of the month, and then I am going to allocate the rest of my money to pay my bills after that. Now this method can be a little bit dangerous, but also I believe it can be the most powerful, because with the pay yourself first method, what it allows is that as a human, it allows you to think more creatively if you don't have the money to pay the bills after you pay yourself first. What this does is basically forces you to meet your goal, and if you are short of your goal, you then have to create ways to make more money throughout the month so that you can make the ends meet. And instead of being complacent because all of your bills are paid but you haven't met your savings goals, you are instead going to find complacency in meeting your savings goals, but then put the pedal to the metal in order to find a way to get the rest of the money that you need. This method is great for entrepreneurs. This method is great for those who have their businesses and side hustles that they can use to generate more money. If you are on an extremely fixed income and you don't have any ways of making additional money, then paying yourself first may not be effective. But if you are a little bit more ambitious and you strive to create more streams of revenue, then I would give pay yourself first a try, because it can be very powerful in the grand scheme of things. And the last budget that I'm going to discuss in this video is going to be the priority-based budget. And what the priority-based budget is, it's going to be the budget where every month you list the bills that you think have the highest priority, and then you pay those bills first. So it's similar to the pay yourself first budget approach, but instead you're then going to be prioritizing bills, prioritizing expenses. And a good example of the priority-based budget is going to be the snowball method, also taught by Dave Ramsey, or also the avalanche method. So the priority-based budget is going to be really effective for those who have high levels of consumer debt that they want to pay off quickly. And because as you pay off the debts, your bills will change. By having a priority-based budget, you are able to be a lot more flexible with what you choose to spend your money on, rather than if you had a more fixed budget. So for an example of the snowball method, let's say you have 5 different levels of consumer debt that you want to pay off. You have 2 credit cards, an auto loan, a student loan, and then the mortgage. With the priority-based budget, in the first few months, your sole priority will be to use any excess money you have to pay off those first 2 credit cards. You'll be making a minimum payment on all your other debt, and then also making the payments towards that credit card, and then putting surplus money towards that. After you pay off those credit cards, you will then transition the money that you were using to make those payments to then start to pay off your auto loans. Once the auto loans are paid off, you'll move towards the student loans, and then finally you'll move your mortgage up from the 5th base priority all the way to the number 1 priority, so that you can start paying that one off as soon as possible. Like I said, this is a great budget for flexibility, and it is also a great budget for building your foundation for financial freedom. However, as I said, I tend to navigate towards the zero-based budgeting, although I would encourage you to find the right budget for you, because having any one of these budgets at all is going to be 1,000 times better for your financial future than having no budget would be. So if you found any kind of value in this video, then make sure you tap that like button for your boy, and if you like this kind of content, then subscribe as well. And if you do decide to subscribe, then I will see you in the next one, guys.